mentioned.
All right, thank you, Becky. That sounds interesting that you have already had an introduction to QGIS. So I'm going to point out and pick and illustrate more on some of those things that you've really talked about. And
Looks like we've lost Samson. Is it only on my side? Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Nice. Looks like we've lost Samson. I will just pause.
yeah, so here are the objectives for this training. One should be able to understand the fundamental elements of GIS, like how we use GIS and what GIS entails. Then also at the end of the training, we should be able to know how to create a map using QGIS, but also we should have like basic information about GIS datasets. So basically what GIS is like a combination of very many things, and one of those include hardware, then the methods, there is data, there is software, there is network, or sometimes you may not need network if you are working offline or just on your desktop. But most importantly, there is people. So a GIS system is a system that combines network, that combines hardware, that combines methods, software, and data. So the most important things here are you must have the data. Then if you want to do analysis, then you need the methods, but you must have the hardware where the software is going to be operating from. But then you also need the people that are going to manipulate and play around with the data versus the software and the hardware. Then basically, someone's saying something? Okay, so what is GIS data? Basically, GIS data is categorized into two categories, and we have vector data and raster data. However, these categories are further subdivided into other different categories, as we are going to see in this presentation. But mainly, vector is again subdivided into point data, line data, and polygon data. But vector data, this refers to data that is in a digital format that you can play around with, that you can edit, that you can move around, that you can change properties and other details. And this data includes the data that we usually use in QGIS, like the shape files, which are divided into points, lines, and polygons. Then raster data, this is the data that is in form of pixels and cells. So you can also call this data mainly as images. So this includes satellite images that you guys are using in JOSM to trace the features that you're mapping, but also it includes other images like hard copy maps, photos, also photos, and other categories of images that we shall see maybe in future. Then here are the samples of the data that we talked about as vector. So like I said, it is further categorized into more categories that include points, lines, and polygons. And examples of point vector data include like water points, includes like electric poles, schools, and others. Then line data includes roads, highways, waterways, electric lines, and other line-shaped features. And polygon data include buildings, include lakes and other water bodies, and forests, national parks, all those features that have the shapes represented as polygons. Then the raster data, like I had said, it is that data that is composed of the different cells and pixels. So you find like a cell is measured in terms of resolution. So if a cell of raster data or a pixel is measuring like 30 meters by 30 meters, that means like each cell of that image, its resolution is 30 meters by 30 meters on ground. And this include like satellite images, like I had said, then hard copy maps that have been scanned, photos that have been captured like using mapillary and others. So we consider all that as raster data. And this is the data that you just cannot manipulate and edit, but you can extract information like how you're using the satellite images to extract buildings and other features that you're tracing on the map. So we say that GIS is composed of the different components like the hardware, the data, people, methods, and software. And some of the hardware components of GIS here include the desktop computers, include mobile applications, then include databases and other cloud storage services that you can use to connect to these different hardwares to display GIS data. Then software, these are pre-programmed applications that have been built to enable the user to interact with the hardware and data to produce information the way it is required. So we have the different types of softwares that we use for GIS, and some are open source and others are paid for, or they are licensed. Like the licensed softwares here include Esri, ArcGIS, and the ArcGIS Pro. Then there is Map Info Professional, but most of us we use the open source GIS tools, which include QGIS that we are going to be looking at today. So the methods here I talked about, if you want to display information from the data, then you need methods or algorithms that you need to play around with, and they produce for you data. For example, if you want to run slope analysis, then there must be a method that you have in the background that you are using to get data. Then the method plays its role, and then the software displays for you the information. So GIS applies to very many applications and use cases in real world, and some of these applications include cadastral mapping and information generation, then deliveries, like where you find you're using online services and someone has to shop from somewhere and they deliver to your home or to your office. Then military applications where you need to tell where the barracks are, where the opponents are, so you need to use GIS. Then farming and agriculture, then wildlife and disaster management, and many others like we'll see in these slides. So with GIS, we can do a lot of things, and those include measuring the sizes or the lengths of highways, the sizes of polygons, like the size of the forest or the size of a water body, then you can be able to combine different data sets and derive new phenomena from the combined data sets. Then you can be able to zoom and view features to the different detail levels as you may need. So we are talking about QGIS now, which is an open source GIS software, and yet there is the other licensed software. But then why do we need to use open source software? There are many reasons why we use open source, and the main is because it is open. You don't need to pay for it, and usually getting it is not costly, like maybe downloading it. You just need to have a few MBs and you'll be able to download QGIS and it will be working on computer. Then there's always marketable skills, because there are lots of documentations and resources that really come with this open source software that are free for you to have, read, and get these skills, and you can apply these skills to very many applications. Then usually most of these open source softwares can be installed on a number of operating systems, including Windows, including Linux, including the Mac operating systems, and others. So there are very many advantages that come with this, and also these open source softwares now, like QGIS, can enable you do more functionalities and add them, like customize your software by adding more functionalities to it, which doesn't usually come with the proprietary softwares. So here are some of the examples of the maps that have been generated by different people using open source softwares. And usually the data source here is OpenStreetMap. Okay, so let's quickly go to QGIS and we see how QGIS works and where to get it from and how to install it. So before you install QGIS, you first of all need to know where you're going to get the software from. And once you know where to get the software from, it's also prudent to know whether the software is compatible with your operating system, or if your operating system or the machine that you're using is going to be able to handle the software. So you need to know the operating system that you have, whether you have a Windows operating system, or you have Mac, or you have Linux, because these different operating systems have different ways or different installers. And some of the things that you need to make sure that you have is enough storage space on your computer where the software is going to be installed. Sometimes if you want to download the software, then you need the internet, but you can also get the installer from someone who has it on a flash, or you already installed it, you already downloaded it, and you have it on your local machine, so you may not need internet. And for you to be able to use QGIS properly, then you will need to have like a mouse, because like we've seen, some of the functionalities in QGIS or in GIS softwares, you need to zoom in and out. So if you don't have the mouse, then zooming in, yeah, it is possible, but it's a bit tricky and sometimes it's hectic. So installing QGIS, like I said, you need to know the kind of system that you're operating and the type of the system that you are running. So you need to know whether you need to download or whether you need a friend to give you which version of the software. Like which system are you going to run the software. So you need to check like the computer properties to be able to tell whether your computer is running a 32-bit operating system, that's for Windows, or if it is a 64-bit, because usually 64-bit operating systems will allow 32-bit software, but a 32-bit operating system will not allow a 64-bit software. So you need to understand which operating system you have and the type of that system, then you will be able to get the type of file that you need to use to install QGIS. Then after you have understood all that, all you need to do is to go to qgis.org and download that software, or ask a friend if they have already installed it or if they have already downloaded it to give you a copy of the software on the flash, or just send it to you and you will be able to run the installer, which is an executable file on your Windows operating system, or you will be using the command line if you are running Linux operating system. So let's quickly go to the interface of QGIS, how it looks, what are the different components of QGIS, and where everything applies when you are using QGIS. So it has the main 4 components that has the tools that displays for you the map, and then there is the status and the layers. So when you install QGIS, it looks like what you're seeing on your screen here, and the 4 main components are: the first one is the layers panel, where all the layers that you add in QGIS will be going in case you need to switch them on and off, or in case you need to remove them, then you have to find them here in layers panel. Then the second are the tools. So you have these tools that are on this vertical left side, and then you have these tools that are here on the toolbar. So there are very many others when you right click on this toolbar, and we shall be able to see that. Then there is this map canvas, where the data that you add in as a layer is displayed here in the map canvas. And then you have this topmost, where there is the main menu that has also other tools that you may have to access. And also then there is this status bar. For example, if you are loading in a big data set, for you to be able to know that the dataset has loaded fully, then you can tell by checking on the status bar. If it hasn't loaded, then you will be seeing that the data is still loading, depending on what the status bar is showing you. It's also from this status bar where you'll be seeing the coordinates for where the cursor is, and also you should be able to see the project coordinate system that you are using. So we are now going to see how to add data to QGIS. And since we've talked about the different categories of data that QGIS allows in, and it's the same way here, so you need to know which data set you're going to add in and which tool then you need to use to add that data. So for you to be able to add vector data set, then you need to know which tool adds in vector data set. And for you to be able to know to add a raster data set, then still you need to understand which tool you need to use. Though there are other different data file formats that can be added to QGIS, like CSV files, then data from the database management systems. Also, you need to know which tool that you have to use to be able to add data into QGIS. So here, some of the things you need to note are, where is my data, first of all? Which format is it? Is it vector data? Is it raster data? Is it CSV? Or I need to connect to the database? So that's where you have to choose each tool that will be able to connect with the data that you have. So if you have data on your local machine, then you need to know where it is located, because you have to browse to that data set. So styling these layers, it is always prudent that when you add data, you don't leave it like that, because when data is added into QGIS, it comes with a default style that is automatically applied by QGIS, or you yourself, you can set the default style by styling the data, and you save that style as the default, so that whenever you add that data, it comes to the default style that you had set. So you need to know which tool and where do I find the symbology to be able to style my data set in QGIS. And I'm not going to read this, but I will show that in the demo. So yes, I will show this in the demo. And so plugins, I think for the interest of time, allow me to do this in the demo. So I have QGIS open here, but be sure I'm just going to close this and open QGIS again. Okay, so this is the latest version of QGIS, which is QGIS 3.28 Firenze, and it was modified, I think, during the State of the Map and Post-4G conference that took place in Florence. So that's why it was given that name, Firenze. So I'm going to add vector data set. And so from these tools here, which there's this called manage layers toolbar, it has all the tools that help you to manage the layers, like to add layer, to add vector data, to add raster data. But the good thing with QGIS is whenever you hover your cursor onto any tool, then it should be able to give you a brief description of what the tool does. So in case you're not sure of which tool, then you just hover the cursor there, then you will be able to see what the tool does. So I'm just going to start with adding vector data. So you just need to click on that tool that that adds in vector data. Then you should be able to know where your data is, whether it is on local disk, whether it is on a certain folder somewhere. Then you should be able to connect to that folder. For example, I'm just going to go to E and find some data in this folder, and add some data sets here, which is I have JSON files, and I have CSV files, and I have GeoPackage. So I'm just going to add this here. But before I do this, I also need to show you the very other different types of file formats that are accepted in QGIS. So depending on the formats that you have, because there are very many formats that are available that can be used to add data in QGIS. And if you go to all files here, then you should be able to see those very many other file formats that are acceptable in QGIS. So, or if you have data that is in any of these formats, then you should be able to add it to QGIS. So there are very many formats here that I will not go through, maybe just to highlight a few of them that are usually common, like the Esri shapefile, the GeoJSON, the KML and GML, then the MB tiles and Microsoft Excel formats. So there are OpenStreetMap formats here and other file formats. And remember, all these formats are for vector data sets. So I will just choose this and add my data here in QGIS. So once you have selected the file that you want to add, then you come and click on add and be able to add for you the data in QGIS. Yeah, I selected a bigger data set, so it might take some time with the layers. I will just a different project and try to load few data sets. Maybe that is a bit lighter. So go to this and go to metrics and to here. Then I will load some points of interest, which is point data. Then I will load roads. Then I will also load buildings. Okay, so this is how QGIS. So you can see the status bar here is running, and it is showing that I'm adding data to QGIS, and the data is still loading. So if you see here on status that something is still trying to load, and whenever I move the cursor around, it shows the coordinates of where my cursor is, and it shows me the scale at which my data is being displayed in the map canvas. And also it shows me the project for which, it shows me the coordinate system for which the project has been displayed in. So now, like I said, GIS enables you to zoom in and zoom out at different levels that you would really want to display your data on. So on this, let me just add one more data set. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the different vector data types here. And what you see here in this layers panel, here what you're seeing as a dot, that is displayed as point data, and one of it is just here. And then the lines, like these highways, that's the line data, and the polygon data is displayed like this in layers, and this is data. So some of the things that we talked about vector data is you can edit. So if you open the attributes of this data, then you can be able to play around, then select, edit this data and move the data and do a lot of manipulation to this data. So then the styling that we talked about is you need, for example, now this color that you see here as maybe red has been selected by the software automatically as default color, but you can go to properties of the layer and then you find symbology here, and you should be able to go to the simple fill and change all the colors that you'd want to change. Maybe you want to display buildings using maybe green color or blue color or whatever color that you want to choose. You should be able to find it here. If you can't select from here, then there are many other colors here that you can choose from, and depending on the rank or the color that you want to select. So I can be able to change the color like that. Then also I can be able to change, for example, these roads. I can go to properties, then I should be able to change like to any of these symbols that have been predefined, or I can still go to simple fill. I can increase the width of the road, and I can change also the color of that road to any color that I want here. And yeah, I should be able to see those colors popping up here. Then also this data can be classified and categorized depending on how you want to display the information on your map. So still, if you go to the properties of the data, then you should be able to categorize or to symbolize the data in different categories. For example, here where you see the single symbol, then you should be able to go and find categorized. Then you select the column that you want to categorize. For example, here, which is feature class. And then once you click on classify, it should be able to show you all the classes of the data that have been classified in this data set. So you can give each of the class a different color, a different size, and yeah, QGIS is just rich like that. So you should be able to see like what these colors are. Like when you see this color, then you know that it's that. When you see this, then you should be able to tell that that's the color. Then the other thing that QGIS does is to allow us to use base maps. So base maps are those maps that you can use as base layers, for example, the satellite images and like OpenStreetMap base. So for you to be able to access that, then you need to have like to go a little more step and install the plugins. And for you to be able to install the plugins, then you need to come to plugins here. Then you click on manage and install plugins. So for you to be able to install a plugin, you need an internet connection, because plugins are these other functionalities that different users have found useful and contributed them, so that other people that may need those functionalities can go to the repository and download that plugin that will enable you to do that functionality. So this is the reason why sometimes open source is really good, because if someone was to install all these plugins with QGIS as default, then it would be a very heavy software. But because there's that repository where these developments are being saved and stored, so that whoever needs it can just go there and download only that, what he needs. Whoever doesn't need it, then he only uses QGIS the way it is. So all you need to do is to go to plugins, then you click on manage and install plugins, and you come and search for that plugin that you are interested in looking for. So for you to be able to use base maps, then you need to install the Quick Map Services plugin, which you can search for here, Quick Map Services. So if you don't have that plugin installed, then you have to click that and then install the plugin. But for me, I've already installed this plugin, so that's why you're seeing that it is asking me instead to upgrade the plugin. So the same way, if you have an updated version of the plugin, then you will be upgrading the plugin. But if it wasn't installed, then here it would be asking me to install the plugin. So once you have this plugin, then all you need to do is to know where to find the plugin, because sometimes you can download the plugin and you fail to find where the plugin has gone. So you find this plugin on web, then you will find the Quick Map Service plugin. So if you install it for the first time, it will not have all these options. It will have a few of them, but what you can do is to go to settings here, and then you go to settings, you find more settings here, like where you find more services, then you click on get the contributed pack, so that the plugin downloads other packages that have been contributed to be used in this plugin. So once you have downloaded that, then you save and it closes, then you have to go back and go to Quick Map Services. Then you should be able to see other very many service providers like Bing, Esri, Google, and OpenStreetMap. So you are free to choose any of these base maps here. For example, I'm going to choose OpenStreetMap standard base map. So it should be able to load for me this OpenStreetMap data, OpenStreetMap base layer in the background. So, and yeah, once you have this, assuming that you have style, but you can add more, so it'll be just a matter of coming to this. If you want like satellite images, for example, if you want to use Google satellite image, then it's a matter of turning off the other base maps and remain with that map that you want to use as base map. So once you have styled your data, you have the base map that you want. It's not a must that you must have a base map. Sometimes some people prefer having it, some don't prefer having it, but yeah, depending on the choice, the usage of the map, who is going to use the map, what they are going to use it for. So you need to think of some of those things before you actually think of designing the map. So once you have designed your data and styled it, and maybe you needed to add the labels and all those things, but because of the time, we will not go into that, then you need to export a map. And exporting a map is done using the new print layout, or if you have other, like if someone sends you already styled template, then you can find it using the show layout manager. But if you are generating a new print layout, then you have to use this print layout and give your map a title, for example, like maybe SSE map, then say okay. So once you click OK, then it loads for you. The paper, or like the page, and you should be able to know, depending on the usage of the map and who you're going to give the map, you should be able to change and go to page properties for you to be able to change the paper size and the either from A4 to A3, depending on whether you want to use the map in a document or whether you want to print it on a bigger map. So you should be able to change that. Then this is just a paper, and then now you need to add the information like the map on a piece of paper, where you use these tools here on the vertical left-hand side of the application. So this tool, Add Map, it helps you to add the data that you had in the map canvas is added here on the print layout. So you can use these tools here to edit the layouts of the map, either to move this in or out or to reduce it, or then also you can still use this tool here, move item content tool, to zoom in and out the contents of the map that you're trying to design. Then after you have designed the map the way you want it, then you need to add more information like the title and other map items that you can find here on Add Map Items. So you should be able to add a legend by clicking on it, and you come and choose where you want to add that legend. Then still you can go ahead and perform other more functionalities on the legend. For example, if you don't want to see this on the legend, then you should be able to tick this auto update off, and you remove that layer. Whatever you don't want to see on the map, then you should be able to remove that. Then still you can be able to edit. For example, if these names are not good for you, for example, if you want to say this is point data, and you want to say that, then you want to say that this is polygon data. And yeah, you can really do a lot. You can move your data, you can shift this up, or you can shift this down to arrange your legend. You can remove some of those things that you don't want to see on the legend. If you removed something mistakenly, you can add what you had removed by just clicking on that. It brings all the layers that you have, and you choose which one you missed, which one you removed mistakenly, and yeah, you can play around with very many. Then you can also add text. For example, the map title, you just select text and you add the title of the map. Then you should be able to change the fonts, like the sizes, the types, you know. There's a lot that really you can do with QGIS. So once you have added all the information that you need, the legend, if you want to give this a frame, then just come and click the frame. If you want to add the logo, for example, you want to add the logo for Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, then you need to add it as an image, and then you browse where the image is, and you should be able to add that logo. So I'm just going to try this and add that. So added this as a logo. Then you can add the north arrow. Those are like the main elements of the map that you shouldn't miss, like the compass and the title and the legend. So once you have finished styling all of these and you have added all the elements that you want, then you need to know which format of the map do I need. Either you need to export it as a JPEG image if you want to use that map in reports, or you just want to put it out there for people to see. Or if you want to print that map, then you can export it as a PDF. So depending on what you prefer, then it's what you will choose to export. Then you have to look for where to save that map, and usually the title that you get from the new print composer will be the default name of the map that will be saved. So I'm just going to save this map here, and I say save. So there is a lot more, but maybe we shall see those in advanced QGIS trainings. And yeah, so once the map is generated, then it shows you, like generates for you a link for where the map has been saved. So if you want to quickly look at it, then you're able to see the map that you have been able to generate. So yeah, for today, I think that's it, unless if there is a quick question that I can answer right now. Thank you. Back to you, Becky.
Thank you, Samson. There's just one question in the chat. What's the process for adding Maxa imagery as a database layer?
Yeah, there are different ways. Maybe in the advanced QGIS, we shall look at that. There are different other ways of how one can add images or base maps in QGIS, and one of them is using the XYZ tiles or the TMS and others. So the way you add a customized imagery in JOSM using the TMS, which is the map tile service, then it's the same way that you use to add a map tile service here. So you can see that we have web map service and we have the map tile service. So once you have that link to the tiles from Maxa, then you should be able to come here and choose this source, which is the TMS here. Then you come to new, you can add the name as Maxa, then you add that link here and you click OK. Then it will be able to display. So once you have the link here, which is valid, then this OK will also be active and you will be able to see now that imagery among the layers that you have here.
Awesome. I will. Where do you get the link from? A follow-up question.
Yeah, one is you can request for a link directly from Maxa and they give it to you depending on what you're going to use the imagery for. Or you can even try and copy that link from JOSM or from the tasking manager. If I am the project manager and I have access to the link, then I can just share with you that link and you add it here. But also sometimes if you, for example, the XYZ tiles, there are already links that have been published. Since these are all open source, then there are links that have been published. Just maybe I need to check the link and we'll share with you on the platform on Slack.
Awesome. I think that answered it very well. Thank you again, Samson, for the... Okay. And Jenny is saying otherwise Bing imagery is easier to use because it is already there. Thank you again, Samson. Thank you everyone for joining in. Yes, this meeting again is going to be recorded and I'll share it as soon as it is processed. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Oh, bye-bye. And thank you, Samson.